What does it take to be a successful entrepreneur? A dangerous amount of coffee and a ton of grit. My name is Jason Tracy, and every week I interview business leaders to share their stories, life lessons, failures, and advice with you. Welcome to Coffee and Grit. What is up? What is up? Happy New Year. It's 2024. It's a new year. It is time to make some new things happen, some new growth happen, some new rebirth. I'm telling you what, this has been another just incredible year. Lots of things have stepped up and come to fruition here on Coffee and Grit. And I just want to say how much I appreciate every single one of you that are listening to these episodes. I appreciate when I'm out in public and people are coming up to me, you know, just the other day in the gym, I got tears brought to my eyes when Mary Beth Patricus came up to me and she starts telling me that, you know, I started listening to Coffee and Grit from a selfish reason. She was like, I was preparing to be on the show and I kind of wanted to hear what the content was about. And she was like, and what's come about is I've been introduced to these life-changing people. I'm listening to these episodes and every single person I'm getting so much out of. And she was like, I would have never have even listened to it if it wouldn't have been me being on the episode, on the show. And it's just, she was like, I hope that you're getting everything that's coming to you from what you're doing. And it's so cool to hear that because it started off, it's still kind of hard to fathom that people are listening, you know, and the guys in the studio here were just talking about, you know, what's been happening. But this year's been awesome. We picked up a sponsor that's been with us for almost the whole entire year. We found ways to get our clients to, as far as being able to get the content that they can post on their on their social media and get attention. We've saw so much happen, so many opportunities created for our guests and for us. What's really, really cool, we threw out this is probably about a month ago on the Dylan England episode talking about coffee, and I want to congratulate Grant because he's officially a holder, the creator of his first official product.
Dude, thank you.
Lion's Breath is coming to life. It is coming to fruition, and I'm telling you what, I was telling the guys here in the studio, it is the best coffee I've ever tasted in my life. And I'm saying that like you're biased. Yes, I'm biased because I intentionally sought out this coffee. It was the best coffee I've ever had in my life. I was able to reach out to the roaster that made it locally here in Goodrich, Michigan. And I'm telling you what, their story, they're going to be an episode of Coffee and Grit. Kirk Walker, the owner, and just a phenomenal story. But as my wife Gracie and I went out last week, last Wednesday actually, last week, we're sitting in their coffee shop in Goodrich, and I'm waiting for Melanie to come in and talk about coffee and talk about white labeling and bring Lion's Breath to life, and just listening to the atmosphere and grown men telling each other they love each other. You know, that's not Coffee and Grit. You know, breaking down that stereotype for men to be able to say I love you in a public setting, to be emotional, to cry, to have that vulnerability is just phenomenal. And so to cross that barrier as far as a culture of a business, like I'm in. The coffee could be crap, and it's not. It's so amazing. It's so amazing to have partners that are just as excited as we are to bring Lion's Breath to life. And so I was able to. Macadamia nut was my favorite coffee I've ever had from this shop, and they retired it. And it was their most popular brand. They retired it, and they're bringing it back for Lion's Breath only. And so from now on, Lion's Breath coffee will be macadamia nut, and it is phenomenal. So I'm excited. We'll have that up on our website, and let us know. Reach out if you want to taste it, or if you're interested in the coffee, let us know. It's super exciting. You know what? As much growth as we've had, I was sitting and I was thinking about this, and as we head into a new year, it's like I'm done playing small. I hope everybody else is out there is like coming into this year with that same exact resolve. It is time to make some freaking big things happen. And so I'm so excited because we've had our engine revving here. Like we probably had like 30 minutes of content alone, just sitting here talking with Alan and Aaron from ATA Residential Solutions. I'm so excited to share their story, to get into what they're doing and the difference they're making in the community. So Alan, Aaron, guys, welcome to the studio.
Hey, thanks for having us here. We're glad to be here. Glad to be part of it.
Definitely. Yeah. Thank you.
Absolutely. We've had this one on the calendar for a few weeks and just been pumped to get you guys in. So introduce yourself. So you're from ATA Residential Solutions. Tell me a little bit about what you do.
Yeah. So I'm Alan Hamilton, co-founder, lead sales manager for ATA Residential Solutions. Go over kind of our coverage area first before we get into it. So we cover 59 and Heartland, south to Ann Arbor, and from Howell to Royal Oak is our main coverage area. Family owned and operated construction company here based in Livingston County. We work out of the All Heart Garage. I own the company with my brother Aaron sitting beside me. Aaron is the lead project manager, so he's a face you'll see in the field a lot, managing subcontractors and our guys that we have. Our main goal when we started ATA Residential Solutions in April of 2019, first off, what a time to start a business. Right? We're both still working 2 separate jobs. Aaron was a 3rd-generation steel worker in our family, and I was working as a firefighter EMT full-time. And we started this construction company just on a dream. It all started with a dream, saying, hey, we've done construction on our leave days, so any days we weren't working our normal full-time jobs, we were doing some construction-alike project, and decided, hey, instead of working for someone else or just picking up jobs here and there, how about we try to build something, build a legacy that we can pass down to our kids? And that's what we've been able to do so far, or do so far. And the main thing is you're not going to do it without a team. So that's the biggest thing with us. And you'll hear me reference throughout the podcast, the team. Big Michigan football fan. Sorry who like state or Ohio State, but we're Michigan here. And it's both said it perfect. It's the team. Everything everyone does who works for us is the team. They think about how it's going to impact it. And that's how we've been able to see so much growth within the last 4 years. And just like you said, next year, like it's time to go big. Next year is year 5 for ATA Residential Solutions. Our foot's on the gas pedal. We're coming, like we're talking before we got on air here. Deion Sanders, when he went to Colorado, everyone kind of mocked at him and said, hey, we're coming.
Yeah.
Granted, his record was not the best, but it was better than the year before. So he proved something. And that's where we're at. We're coming. We have a team that's built for the fight. I feel like we can change the industry on how we do things, and we'll go over that process today. But we're just trying to bring the authentic Americana company back. If you treat the guys who work for you right and the gals that work for you right, then you'll have a long-term company, and they'll do whatever you need them to do. Troy Clark, who owns a business down the street here, told us perfect. We went to the soft opening. He said, if you treat them like family, it's easier to have conversations like family. And that's so it's been true, Jason. It's really helped us out along the way with this company. Aaron could probably add more to that because he has more of a different perspective from the field.
Yeah, definitely. Our main goal is just really to make something to where the people that work for you want to come to work every day. And it makes it so much easier to come to a place that you love, because I made a living at a steel mill, but I hated most days going to work. So
I hated it, yeah.
I wanted to make sure that I had a culture to where everybody wanted to work. And when we first started, I was working right hand in hand with our guys. So it wasn't like, oh, well, you guys don't understand. Like, no, we're in the trenches with you and we're making it happen. So we're grateful to be able to build this team that we've had. So blessed with the people and characters that come and want to work for us. And it really shows in just their work ethic. And every day they show up and they're happy. And I mean, it's construction, so it's not always sunshine and rainbows, but for the most part, our guys are happy to come to work and make sure that they're putting out an awesome product for our clients.
How does that feel to put that together when you've been a part of something you've hated to do? It's
almost unreal. It's like everything just came together, and it's like you keep your head down for so long, and you kind of get out of touch with like what could possibly come of it. And the guys that we've had on our team, Shane, he's our lead carpenter foreman, and he's really always said like, hey, just keep pushing. You guys will get there. Get closer to 5 years. You'll start seeing some benefits. And I mean, he built a company before and decided that wasn't his cup of tea, and he'd rather just be a foreman for somebody else. And we're definitely blessed to have him with us. But just kind of being there with them, and then just throughout the whole phase of start to finish on all these projects, it's when you step back and you can look at it, then you're like, wow, I really did something sweet. But you get so focused on, all right, that's done, go to the next one.
You get that tunnel vision. You're in it.
Yeah, definitely. So now, like, I feel like more so than ever the last year or two, we've been able to step back and kind of look at it and like, wow, like we've really like put all these pieces in play. And it's like all the risks that we've really went out and put ourselves out there with, they seem to be paying off more and more, and we're just excited for that next phase and next chapter.
Before we get back at it, a quick shout out for our sponsor, Playbook Builder, powered by AI. This show has always been about giving the resources and the tools to small business owners in order to grow and scale your businesses successfully. And so I'm so excited to partner with a company that does just that. If you've listened and heard any of our guests, you've heard talking about building process, developing and training, building culture, are all such important pieces in order to building a great company. Well, Playbook Builder, powered by AI, has come along and revolutionize the game on how you can do that for your team and people, whether you're onboarding new people, training and developing, continued training and developing, you're looking to scale your business or eventually sell, or most importantly, you're looking to build a legacy as a visionary. Playbook Builder, powered by AI, is able to solve those problems for you. For me as a consultant, I've been able to plug in, and it's so amazing for what I do for clients. I can now leave a legacy. And so, for example, I'm next week training a new hire for a company, and I've been able to build out the next month of her training program using Playbook Builder, powered by AI. The cool thing about the AI, what does that do? What's the hardest part of building out a process? Taking the step by step and making it easy to learn. What the AI piece does is you can actually type in what process it is, whether you want to onboard, if you want to onboard a new employee, type in onboard a new employee and what type of industry you're in, and the AI will put together a foundation for you to build out your playbook. It is absolutely incredible. But don't take my word for it. Head on over to playbookbuilder.com, and these guys have set it up to where you can take this for a test run with no obligations. Plug in what kind of playbook you want to build. If it's a sales training playbook, for example, plug that in the description. And in the description, you can also put in what kind of industry you're in, and then hit generate, and it will generate a playbook for you. Impress from there, and you can take a 30-day free trial of the playbook system altogether.
When we started in April 2019, very much so you could say what we were doing was like a handyman-like business, removing door handles, replacing door handles, anything to get in the door because you're trying to build your portfolio. And to go in and say, hey, we'll finish your basement. Hey, we'll do a home edition with nothing to back it or no pictures of your own, and to still be an honest company and not lie and keep to your faith and who you really are and your morals of yourself and your company. You did things like that. And eventually it started with, we got our first kitchen remodel. It was a family friend of ours. They trusted us and said, go ahead and do it. So we did it. Great pictures, worked out well. We took it from a 1980s time of the kitchen at the current time to current times with the 21st century. And they loved it. And the same thing happened in the basement. No one would hire us to do a basement because we had nothing to prove for it. And I understand that. You have to prove yourself. And then a family friend again was like, I need my basement finished. So we were driving. We both were living in Lyon Township at the time, South Lyon area. And we drove to Linden to finish this basement. And it was the first one. And yeah, at the time it was a drive. But we were leaving our normal job. So when I wasn't at the fire department, I was working on the basement. When he wasn't at the steel mill, he was working on the basement. He would leave a 10, 12-hour shift and go right to the basement. And him and I, he showed me a picture the other day. Before we had any team members, and it was just Aaron and I, we were in a basement spraying at dry fall in the ceiling. And we had Tyvek suits on and goggles. And we took the goggles off and looked like raccoons. I mean, our faces were so black. But it's like humbling beginnings. So when you're telling someone to do something and you're leading a team, you know what it feels like to do it. Where others, I'm not saying it's for everyone, but others very much so in our industry, you have a bunch of bosses and no leaders. And we've worked for guys like that. And the biggest takeaway I had in my career as fire service and what he had in the steel industry is you learn how to be a good leader from the bad leaders. And from the good leaders, you learn how to be a better leader. And that's the biggest thing. But, we were out there doing it in the beginnings, installing all of our flooring, doing all the framing, finishing our drywall because we had no drywall subcontractors, installing ourselves. We don't do that now, but it's just humbling beginnings, which got us to where we are now. And now fast forward, we are a full functioning construction company. We specialize in whole house remodeling, finished basements, additions. We are not a handyman company, but we always like to mention that so people say, where did they come from? 2019, 4 years ago. Well, how we got here was from hard work, grit, determination, and saying, we're not going to stop.
And really just clients being able to take that jump with us and say, you know what? Yeah, you might not have any pictures, but I still feel comfortable because of the conversation that we're having. And they're like, you know what? You got the job. And just that happened over and over again. And just really the clients that were willing to take the essentially a risk on the new company and just take for what we're saying, like men of our word. Hey, we can do it. We're not going to steer you wrong. And those clients that really just helped us at the beginning phases were
They had belief in
ultimately
you.
blessed. Yeah, definitely. And even it came down to like me and AJ were talking one day. We're like, all these clients, they don't really have much skin in the game. So like when we finish their job, they're like, hey, I just want you guys to know like you're going to be very successful and you're going to make it. And and that time it's like really reassuring. And then it just happened really so many times over and over again to where we're like, we must be doing something right. Like, because these people, they don't owe it to us by any means, but they just really take out of their time and just a heart to heart conversation. Like, hey, keep up the good work.
And you want to hear real grit and real like faith in God. So God's the number one for us. We wouldn't have anything in our life if it wasn't from the blessings of God and the work of Jesus in our life. It's really helped us to get where we're at in a short amount of time. I think naturally we would get there, but I don't think we would have gotten there if we didn't have our faith. With that being said, Aaron has a crazy story, hell of a story on when he left the steel industry during COVID.
Yeah, so my oldest son, I have a 4-year-old and 2-year-old. My oldest son, he was 3 months old, and it was extremely risky. I was trying to go through the time to get a house and deal with all the headaches of that. And when I decided to make that leap, I didn't really know it before it all happened, but all that kind of fizzled out because, well, if you don't have all that previous tax info for a new house, then they're not really willing to play ball. So not only like start the company, but I'm building something to where now I need to build it up to where I can stand on our foundation of what we have. So it took some time to achieve those things, but just really taking that full risk when my son was 3 months and everybody looked at it and nobody said, you know what, Aaron, that's the right thing to do. Like jump. No, everybody's like, that is insane. And you have a pension, benefits, all this good stuff. Like you're foolish to leave. And I'm like, you know what? I might be, but we're going to try it. And that was really the best thing that we ever did. And just instantly, as soon as I left, when we hired Shane, and that was our first full-time guy. And I said, you know what? If I'm hiring somebody, then I have to really like close that wound because I took the voluntary layoff. So I still kind of had that door in and out, like kind of safety net. But then it came down to a point to where they're like, hey, you got to come back or you got to quit. And I was like, you know what? It's now or never. Like if I don't jump all the way in, like it's never going to go anywhere. So I said, screw it. Jumped in, said I quit. They're like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, I guess.
I guess I'm sure.
Yeah. So and really like little did I know that would have been one of the best decisions I ever made in my life.
Yeah.
Just really just double down on yourself.
Business lined up at that point?
No, we had one job.
Yeah.
So we were in the middle of that kitchen and that was the only thing we had. And we had a couple great contacts with a bigger builder, just kind of like trying to get it together, get it going quick. Like, hey, we got this covered for the next few weeks, but we need to start figuring out all this other stuff. So then we started knocking on doors, asking people like, hey, this is what we do. And more people started giving us some pipeline of work. So we were blessed with the connections that we've had in an early phase of the company. But really, like, it was.
Were you knocking on doors with people you knew? Were you just finding neighborhoods and knocking on doors?
So pretty much like word of mouth, family, friends.
Yep.
Like, we always joke, but we really did go from like hanging picture frames to building full editions because it was really just anything to get our name out there. Like, hey, if you want a service done in your home, like we're the guys. And then those jobs compiled up to bigger and bigger jobs and other people like, oh, hey, you do that full time now? Okay, well, hey, I got this for you. So it was a lot of that. And we were definitely blessed with the network of people that we've had around us.
I mean, when we started doing it too, we didn't have any of the marketing that we have now. We didn't have the nice professional postcard mailers that tell you all of our services and the story about us and professional photos. Because again, we didn't have the portfolio.
I always joke about it. AJ built us our Wix website with our clip art American flag. And we laugh about it now, but it's, you know.
It was a clip art American flag.
Yep, 100%. I wish we still had that site. I would put that in picture frames and be like, hey, AJ, remember this?
It was brutal. Like, I thought it was great, but it was better than what we had, right? So you only know what you know.
Yep.
And then I created our Facebook page, which helped tremendously. And we've had that since April 2019. And that really propelled us. But then we took a step further. I'm like, well, we got to give something to give homeowners to say, hey, we're not just a handyman company. We can do large scale renovations, bathroom, kitchens, basements, additions. We can play in that arena just like anyone else. Just give me a chance. And you won't be sad that you did. So I went to good old Microsoft Word, created a little bio about who we are and then listed services. And then from the listed services, we ended up just hand those to every homeowner. This is what we do in case you know of any family friends. Here's additional services we offer. We didn't have a portfolio, but we knew we had the skill set.
Yeah.
So then that's how it trickled effect and built off of that. And then fast forward to this year, I ended up leaving the fire service in April 2023, which was kind of crazy in itself as well. So I had an injury in June of 2022, had some time off. Mind you, I was a firefighter EMT for 12 years. 7 of the 12 was professionally full-time. During that time, I never had a normal schedule. Even the part-time fire departments I worked for allowed for shift work. So I always filled my schedule. I worked 12-hour shifts, but I'd double them up, so I'd work 24s. So I never had a normal life. Worked all the holidays.
Yeah.
So I was off, and when I got off on that injury, I ended up having this 2-month period where I didn't have to work. And I'm like, man, Aaron, is this what it's like to be a normal human being in society? And no knock on first responders, anyone. Like, it's a great profession. I'm glad I did it. But we really don't know anything different than what you're doing, especially when from the time you're 18 years old, this is all you know how to do out of high school. And at the time, I'm 28. So I had the time off. I worked a lot in the business. The business grew, and then it was time to go back. I got cleared to go back to work. So I'm like, man. So I go back to work. Now I'm like obsessed with the growth we're seeing. Working on work at work after my daily duties are done as a firefighter. You have some downtime. So normally I do stuff then. And I go off again with another injury, neck injury. And I go back a month later, and I'm like, man, I transferred firehouses. It was during a transfer time. So I went from one firehouse to another. You had 2 transfer times a year where you could go from a different firehouse if you wanted to move and just get different scenery or work with different people or different skill set. So you can be on an engine or you can be on a truck. But anyways, I transferred to a truck company, went there, had good rapport. First 2 days, my boss was pretty standoffish. I didn't understand why. And I guess the rumor was floating around that I had to pick between my business or being a firefighter. That's a tough decision to make when this has been your baby for so long.
You're like 4 years in now.
Man, yeah.
Yeah, almost 5 at that point.
At that point, we had just about 4 years in. And this was April 23, and it was tough because I love being a first responder. I have a passion for it. Like, that was my life until we created ATA. So I talked to her. I'm like, man, I don't know if this is going to work out. The rumors going around, they got to pick between my company or my business. I'm like, well, my third shift's coming up. I'll just go in for my third shift and see if I can break the ice. And I don't mind proving myself, but this just felt more like proving yourself. So on my way into work, I'm praying in my truck before I got there. I'm like, God, if this isn't where you want me to be, please let me know. Give me a sign. I'm kind of stubborn and hard-headed. You're going to have to really give me a sign.
Or 10. Or 10.
You're going to set the building on fire.
Yeah. And that he did. So I went into work. Morning goes well. Run a couple calls. Morning's okay. Afternoon hits. There's a discrepancy of how I was taught with the policy, and it exploded. My boss came unglued on me and just very condescending, talked down to me. And I'm like, all right, God, got the point. I guess I'm not supposed to be here. So I called Aaron. I'm like, I think it's time. And at that time, we had budgeted for me to leave in July of 23. It's April 23 when this is going down. Call my wife. I'm like, I don't think I'm meant to do this anymore. And this is the toughest decision I have to make in my life. So I go home. I still had some time off I could burn my time off, and wrote my 2 weeks and said, hey, I'm going to hang up my career and the baby that I've had for the last X amount of years, and I'm going to move forward as an entrepreneur. I have, at the time, my newborn wasn't here yet. So Weston, our youngest, was born in June. This is April. So we had to figure out health insurance. She's still going to the doctors every week.
Yeah.
It's consistently. And then I have a 2-year-old and I have a 3.5-year-old. And I have a house, a mortgage, I have all these things. So it's like having faith. Matthews, it always says in the Bible, why have so little faith? Jesus is always telling his disciples, why have so little faith? And I had talked to Aaron, and Aaron's like, just have faith. It's going to be okay. He's like, I did it. We'll be fine. We'll grow anymore. He's like, this is the next step we need to make for us to grow 50% more, just like when I left. But for me, it was hard because I love it so much. He's like, I'm going to support you either way, which is awesome with my brother. He's like, I'm not telling you have to leave. I want you to make this your decision. So I left, talked to my wife, and we took the leap. And man, have we grown.
I'm like getting chills thinking about it, and like looking over at Aaron and being like, I could only imagine the growth when you come in and enter this full
When we
time.
started seeing that, when it was like that couple month gap you had off, it's like systems, formalities, all this other stuff that isn't my wheelhouse. It was just happening. And I'm like, we knew that to grow a company, that one of us had to make the leap first. So I did that, jumped, and then we're like, you know what? We're not going to see that next big jump until we're 100% in 100% of the time.
Yeah,
And-
during that time we hired 2 more carpenters when I left. We had some more systems put in place. I took over more of the sales. Aaron was able to manage the guys more efficiently in the field. And the thing is, it's like the saucer method. You have all these plates spinning. Eventually, one of the plates are going to fall if someone doesn't pick one of the plates up.
Yep.
So I could see all these plates spinning, and Aaron's not one to ask for help because he's really good at what he does. But our mentality it's a dog mentality. It's like you just keep going and keep in the fight. And that's
the only downfall of a grinder, a hustler, is that you take on too much, and that you it's hard to say I can't take that on because you know you can.
And really at that time, it was just like, it was straight chaos. Like, we're running a bunch of jobs. I'm trying to answer the phone, do the sales, manage the guys, make sure they have everything they need, and still be the good boss and give them that work environment they deserve. And it was just insane. Before that, our wives weren't helping out yet, and they're like, hey, anything we can do to help? And we're like, I don't really know what I'm doing right now, so you can't really help me yet.
You can't.
Yeah. So it's like, let me figure this out, and then we'll get you on board, which now we're blessed to be 100%. Both of our spouses are in the company with us, and they're huge roles in the company. So that also puts us outside. And I mean, we're all in, and our wives are all in. So it helps when literally the whole family is just in it. And it also, they can see certain sacrifices that we make, and they're like, okay, well, I understand because this is happening or this is happening. So that definitely has helped.
Oh, go ahead.
I just, you did the presentation at SiriusNet a couple weeks ago, and first off, that was the best presentation that I've seen. The 10-minute presentation I've seen, and we've had some good ones, but that was just so good. And I love how you laid out, and everybody has their role. And I especially love how your wife is like the person you report to, and vice versa.
Yeah, our gatekeepers.
Your gatekeepers. Yeah.
It works. It works.
Yeah, it works out really well. And the thing is, too, and Aaron and I said we're humble at the beginning of this, so we'll tell you the down and dirty details of this. We listened to the podcast with the owner of Atlas Outdoors.
Yeah.
And
Sam.
Sam, his story is so much similar to ours. I mean, so when he was still doing this full time, I was still between a firefighter and being a business owner. And mind you, I was always told you can't sit on the fence because Satan owns it. So you have to pick one way or the other.
Ooh.
And I'm like, well, that's really good. And time for you, Alan, to apply it to your life. When you have to apply something, it's the hard thing, man, right? When you're like, you have to take your own advice now. It's like, oh, but do I? So I took it. But at the time, like, we rolled over 10 projects from 2022 to 23. Plus we had new projects starting in 23. And we had lost a couple employees, gained a couple employees. But you had more work than you could control with stuff you had thought was going to be completed. And it was just because timelines got skewed, material delays. Mind you, we're still coming out of the pandemic, so things are still starting to iron stuff out. You really didn't start to see things with the pandemic start to settle down, personal, and this is just opinion, until the end of 22 in our industry. So then finally we were able to manage that. So now we're happy to say going into 2024 from 23, we got all that caught up, plus what we started, and we have one project rolling into 24, which is almost done. And we have work booked out through April. So we're super blessed. But it just shows people, like, you can have these obstacles in anything in business or in your life, and you're like, man, this isn't attainable, but just chip away at it, you know? Because our big mentality, like, we always used to eat the apple all at once, but then we realized just literally take a bite out of the apple. You know, it's so simple.
Yeah.
But once we start doing, okay, how do we get this one done? All right, next one. How do we get this one? And at times, him and I were jumping in the field trying to help out. Where can we help you guys out? Because we see our guys are doing the best they can. I mean, their heart's in it. They have it. The 2 guys that were with us at the time are still with us now. They're our number 1, number 2 guy who've been with us since day 1. And they're like, we got this. We're going to keep grinding.
Just having that team. And really, it was just a couple guys that were like, you know what? I'm on board. It's chaos right now, but I see where you guys are headed. And Shane's been in the trades for 30 years. So he's been there, done that, seen the growth. So just having another person in our corner that's like, you know, I see where you're going to get it. And I respect it, so I'm going to help you guys get there. And just having really, which also made it a little bit difficult in the beginning, is that we never changed our core values on who we hire. So it was always still very strict. If they didn't work out, it didn't matter if we were shorthanded, they were fired. So, and Shane also lived by that method. So if it was just means him having one extra helper in the field, he didn't care. If they weren't working out and they weren't doing what they should have been doing, they were out. And it was completely okay. And then we were gradually found the team that we have now, and we're definitely blessed for it.
You look at these guys, Jason, you think they work 20 years together, and they have not. But they gel so well, they work together. But the thing is, like Aaron said, with our core values of our company,
That's it.
you're only as good as your last job. And in this industry, if you fumble once, you're in the spotlight. Because we're in an industry, let's be honest, they're like we were saying before, there's not a lot of real people. There's a lot of fakeness, and a lot of guys give false promises. And our biggest thing with the process we have that I went over in our SiriusNet meeting with my presentation was our process. And it's setting realistic expectations, not only what the homeowner expects of us, but what we expect of them, and laying it all out there. And that's huge. And I think that's missing significantly in construction, being authentic. It's like, if it's going to be delayed, it's going to be delayed. We had a gentleman leave us a review. We finished his basement in Ann Arbor. Awesome homeowner, worked out great, but we ran some snags and some problems. But in his review, he said, the reason I feel comfortable referring ATA is because they never downplayed any issues we ran into. They said, nope, it's significant, but this is what we're doing to make it better. And he's like, yeah, did it hinder some things? Yeah, and we're delayed significantly for that because of the city and inspections. But overall, he's like, I like that they didn't downplay it. They're honest. And that's missing. Like,
It's so missing.
I'm sure if you've had someone do work in the past for you, or you've seen friends have people do work at their homes or wherever it may be, they don't show up on time. They're not honest. Was supposed to be done 2 months ago, and now we're 6 months over schedule. And we try to, if we're delayed, this is why we're delayed. And I'm going to call you every week to give you an update at this time.
I've been in the sales industry my whole career, and so it's the natural thing, or the most popular thing to do the over-promising, under-delivering, and it's something I preach constantly, is that, first off, if you're delivering, that was where I made a staple and became a difference maker in my sales career, is delivering the hard news, being able to call up somebody and be like, we're going to be off schedule. This is going to happen. Like, to set that expectation, that communication. So many fluff it over, lie, or avoid. Mm-hmm. And so when somebody comes and sets the expectations, doesn't overplay it, is completely honest, it's a breath of fresh air.
And the thing too with us, it's like when we're delivering bad news or stuff that's not going right, and it does not happen all the time, but when it does happen, you're not getting email, you're not getting text. I'm going to either talk to you on the phone, or I'm going to request to meet with you in person. Mm-hmm. Because our process is intimate. From the time you call us to do an estimate, to the time we review your proposal, to the time you decide you sign a contract with us, we move forward to your job. We preach that our process is intimate. And it's not intimate just in the good times. It has to be with the bad times. Hey, we're real people. We're going to talk to you. We're not going to hide behind a text or an email.
Yeah.
Voice to voice.
And it makes it a lot easier that way.
Yeah.
When certain people, like, you can see it just on their face, they're like worked up, and it's like, hey, it's going to be all right. We got this together. We're going to make this happen.
That's the thing is, I think a lot of times people think email or text or whatever, it feels easier because it's, you don't have to see their face.
Yeah.
However, to be able to see their face and be able to have a conversation, you can help them go through that.
I mean, tell about that window issue we just had the other day.
Yeah. We had windows ordered to our shop, and we've had them for about 6 months. Came down to it when we were out in the field. They were kind of tucked away. I wasn't really paying much attention to them. Got them to the field, wrong color. So customers like, yeah, could we kind of squeeze it? Yeah, we probably could have, but was it going to be what they were looking for at the very end of it? And I could see it on the gentleman's face that he's not feeling it. So I was like, hey, just make the call. If you want me to put them in, then we will. If not, then I'll return them, no problem. And I could tell that he didn't want to make that call.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? Hey guys, get the windows back on the truck. Let's go.
Yep.
And he's like,
you knew what you wanted.
I'm really sorry. And I'm like, hey, no, don't be sorry. You're going to get what you want at the end of it. Just a little snag. And he respected that at the end of it, to where it's like, yeah, were the windows the wrong color? Yes, they were. But he respected that. We're like, hey, we'll take that extra mile, because it's what we do. I mean, I don't want to put out something that looks like shit. So, I mean, we're making beautiful projects, and we want to make sure that that client moving forward knows, hey, they had our back. Things might have got snagged a little bit, but they had our back. And our end goal is to put out the most beautiful project we possibly can. And we're never shedding off of that.
And those windows might not even look like crap, but it's not what he wanted, right?
Yes, exactly.
So if he sees the beautiful project, he's going to see that window, and it's going to remind him that it's not what he wanted.
100%. And I don't want him to ever, like, when we leave your home, I don't want there to be one thing to where you're like, hey, if we would have did this, or I wish I would have did this. we make sure that when we're in that project, no matter if it's a time delay on our behalf or whatever it may be, we'll take the extra mile to make sure that it is 100% what you want, not solely, well, the contract says this is what you get. No, if you need something different to help accommodate, then we're going to make that happen for you.
You know, that's where we're different, because this contract did say the color of the windows that they came in white, and this contract did say white windows, and they signed off on it because they wanted the promotion that was ran for that style window. But when they got it, like, man, they really didn't think it through. Even like we gave them the advisement, we did the proposal, like, hey, I know you're going to spend a little bit more, but you're going to get the color you want. No, white's fine, white's fine. Where a lot of people in our industry would have been like, nope, you're going to delay us.
Yeah.
Our inspections are going to be pushed back now. And it's like, no, we're going to make it work, because the main thing is, like, how many times have us three have gone to someone's home and be like, man, it looks really nice. Who did this? And they say the company's name. How did it go? It went good, but like, we don't want to be, we had ATA Residential Solutions do the project, but there's no buts when we leave your house, because we want to cross those along the process, you know, with a project in the beginning. And we have parameters set in place to catch that. Fortunately, this one, it didn't, but it was really a visual thing. That's what it came down to. And we made it right.
It's a different story, because you get the but versus, oh, they were excellent. Actually, we had this situation happen and they took care of it, because they do tell that story versus, but
absolutely,
but this happened.
You know, it's like for a 4-year business, like, he laughs because I'm like a Google review nerd. Like, I love when we get Google reviews, because, and we share them with our whole team. It's not like when we show up on a job and someone's like, man, you guys did a great job. Wait a minute, we didn't, because we're out trying to grow the business, get more work. Those men you see right there, they did a good job. Stephanie and Nicole, who you spoke to throughout the process, whether it's invoicing, scheduling, they did a great job. We facilitated it, but it's the team.
Absolutely.
And we always give those guys credit for it. So when we get reviews on Google, we do a mass text. Even if I see them on Saturdays, I'll send out guys all text, thank you, you're doing a good job. We give them praise for it, and they're fantastic. And thankfully, you know, we're humble about it, but we're happy that we have 4.9 rating on Google, over 5 stars. You know, do we have 1-star reviews? Yeah, we have one, and it was my fault because I forgot to get back to someone. But again, we're a humble company.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get back to them as quickly as I should have, and I dropped the ball. But the best thing I did is I could say, oh, well, I got a 1-star review, and just like scoff it off. Or you can take it as constructiveness and say, do better. And that's kind of how we are. And him and I always look at each other. And that's the cool part about being in a construction company, not being just one sole owner, having a co-ownership and being brothers 2 years apart in age, is we can lean at each other and we can have tough conversations. If I'm being too hard on the dedeadline, they're going to be like, hey, man, why don't you loosen up a little bit? And sometimes it's a hard thing for me to hear because of my personality, but
he knows it really well.
He does. Yeah. He knows it very well. I mean, hell, we shared a bedroom 16 years of our life growing up. So he knows me very, very well. And now he lives 12 minutes down the road from me.
Sometimes.
Yeah. And it's like, I don't mean to. It's just like I'm a really task-oriented person, so I don't sometimes count for the delays. So I'll see the schedule and be like, man, we got another project starting. In our industry, when you start to book a schedule, then call one person, then you got to push back several others. But Aaron's sometimes like, hey, this happened, not their fault. This is why it happened. Perspective. And that's been huge, man, to have him be able to.
We're a pretty good yin and yang. He is a very structured type person, but I'm kind of like, I'll fly by the seat of my pants. Like, I love chaos sometimes, and I don't know what I would do if it wasn't such crazy all the time. So I think we balance each other out pretty well.
And it's crazy because, like, he's seat of his pants, but it's still efficient. I'm like, how do you do it so efficiently? Like, I can't do it like that.
When I make it look easy, then he's like, all right, come on. Just aggravate.
You throw your hands up like with it.
Yeah. I forgot what it was, but it was like the other day I told him to do something. I'm like, hey, can you go do this for me? Yeah, I can do it. I'm like, I need it here by this day. Well, I went there earlier. He didn't get there early. He's like, still got it, didn't I? And it's like, Aaron. That's when, like, the brother comes in. It's like, you just want to grab him sometimes. Like, dude.
Well, I love even the comparison as we were mic checking and everything. You're talking about you got up at like 11 yesterday, and like you're talking about you get up at like 4:30 in the morning. You know, like that. I love that comparison when you're talking about this.
Yeah, it's like sometimes I feel like I'm Homer Simpson and he's Bart, and you just want to grab him like, but it's like it works out in the end, and I think that's why we've had so much success because a lot of folks in our industry we're the young guys in the arena. Let's just call it what it is. A lot of construction companies are second, third generation. Or not even that, they're first generation, but they've been doing it 25 years. That's who ATA is competing against. And we can compete against them because you look at our team has that many years of experience on it.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's the best thing too. I mean, you've probably seen in sales, you want to build a team that's more experienced because as a leader, there's nothing wrong with that. It makes you look really good because they're performing well. and the team's jiving well.
Absolutely.
Where a lot of guys let their ego get in the way and they're like, oh, you can't know more than I do, and I'm the owner. It's like, who cares? We're
Yeah.
a team.
100%. I mean,
Play
our
to the strengths.
teams are all veteran guys to where it's like, yeah, I mean, of course you would know more than, I mean, you've been doing it for 30 and I've been
Absolutely.
doing it for 5, 6. So it's like, yeah, and it makes sense to where when you have that kind of culture, it definitely just helps everything else fall in place. And some of that best advice that we've got is don't run from what makes you guys different, because that is what people want to see. Not, oh,
Absolutely.
no, I mean, we can do this because we have all these years. It's like, hey, we're young, we're figuring it out, but we're very good at what we do as well. So,
But then it's key. You harness what you have in your team. You listen. It sounds like, you know,
Yeah.
it's because you said it's very easy to have an ego or to be like, I'm the boss or it's my company. But when you have a team and you use their strengths, you bring them on for a reason, right? It's
Mhm.
not just somebody that's swinging a hammer. So I think a lot of companies treat people like that's just the guy swinging the hammer.
yeah, no.
When somebody has an idea and you embrace that, or even going back to the Google reviews, letting them know they're a part of that, that sounds so simple and so easy. And if you're listening, it sounds so simple and it's so easy because it is. It's probably just a really simple thing for you to send that message out.
Yeah.
But they know they're a part of that.
Mm-hmm.
They know what they do on a daily basis when they're out in the client's home is a reflection of that and a reflection of ATA. And I could imagine they take so much pride in what they do in the company they work for, you know, because they're tied into that. That's them.
100%.
Yeah.
And we even do monthly team meetings. So we meet the first day, if it's a weekday. Hopefully if it doesn't fall on like a Friday or Saturday, it's a day we can meet. It's usually a Monday. So the first week of the month we meet. And that first week we meet, it's to talk about what we did the previous month and what we're doing the current month. And then now we started an end of the year wrap up. So we recover the whole year. This is how many projects we did for this value, and we open it up to them. And then at the end of it, we always end with, this is what we expect from you. What do you expect from us as owners? What do we need to do better at? And then Aaron came up with the idea. Now we do individual interviews with each guy every month. And we meet once a month, but it's a one-on-one interviews, like, how's things going? Are you happy? So it doesn't turn into, and no matter how big this company gets, you know, obviously we want to scale, but we're never going to go away from that as ownership. Because I always want to know my people. Like, I don't want to show up and be like, hey, who's that guy? Where do you come from? It's like, no, I know him. That's Shane. He's been with us since day one. This is who he is. I want to know you. I want to know your family. Just like I want you to know me. I want you to know my family. I'm not just an owner. Like, I care about you guys. And I think that's what's missing, because as companies scale, you get busier. You start with 4 guys, you get 10 guys, and 15, it just starts to snowball. And then you forget what got you there. And then those meetings become less and less. And then you're like, I don't know why no one's performing. Why aren't the numbers where the numbers need to be? Well, it's because you don't know your team.
Yes.
You know?
And you stop doing the things that made you what you are.
Yeah.
Right. And it's keep doing those things, obviously. And I know I don't have to tell you, but it is so easy as you get successful to stop doing some of those things. And like the one-on-one conversations, I can imagine those go so far.
Oh, they really do. And it just makes the guys want to make that extra effort. It's like, it's not even forced upon them. They just naturally show up and want to do the very best they can. And if there's anything that they think that we could improve or do better, they're always giving that positive advice. Like, hey, I think that we could do this here, or like, hey, maybe talk to the client about this. And it helps grow that whole culture of the company that we're trying to go after. And also, like, being young, when we first started, I was 24 trying to run a crew of guys, like, double my age. And you really got to put your ego aside if you want to make it happen.
And never been in this
I worked for one construction company for a year,
Uh-huh.
and it was one-man show. I worked alongside him hand in hand, soaked up everything he could possibly teach me, and that was the only company I ever worked for. So I just kind of used the knowledge from that and just said, I know I'm a carpenter, so I know I want to build a construction company, and we just kind of figured out what we could do to make it all happen. And
yeah, and it's like, so like January 2nd of 2024, we're meeting with our guys, and it's called 2024 launch. So we're going to meet, go over what we're going to roll out for 2024, recap last year, and just set on a good note. We're going to bring in lunch for them. It's always a paid day for our guys to come in. And it's just, hey, ease into the new year after the holidays, set the expectations, and let's rock and roll. And that it's helped so much, though. We just can't speak. If no one out there who's listening does this, like, get to know your people, get to know your team. You know, just don't treat them like a number and someone who's producing for you. Like, eventually that's not going to work. And I work for guys like that, and it's like, man, I gotta go to work today. And like, we want our guys to be like, yeah, I get to go to work today, you know. Don't cut off the Christmas bonuses. Budget for it, and you can make it happen. I know things are tight right now, but if you budget, you make it happen. The turkeys around Thanksgiving. I've heard companies where kids inherit the company, and that's the first thing to go. But it's not just a turkey. Like, think about what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know, and at our age and how young our business is, we've been thankful to learn this early on. But another thing too is like we've surrounded ourselves around successful individuals who've been able to be great mentors for us. Our business coach, Tom Hamp, shout out to him through AbbVie Coach. He's helped us significantly. And again, a lot of guys wouldn't share what we're sharing today, but it's because we're humble. We have nothing to hide.
Yeah.
We're not running from nothing. We're not hiding from nothing. Because if there's someone who's starting like we were, who's a 24-year-old out there starting their business and wants to get into construction, heck yeah, let's do it, man. Like, go for it. This is what we did. I'm not saying it's going to work for you, but it's not going to hurt. Give it a shot. You don't have to do it forever. Just give it a year. And anything you put work to, at least give it 90 days before you're like, oh, this isn't working.
It is. It reminded me of this earlier when you were talking about the website, or you were talking about creating the list of services on Word.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had so many clients, so many people I've talked to that have had a dream or a vision, and they don't do it because their marketing materials weren't nice enough, or because the information they had wouldn't guarantee them that they'd have success. You know, they wanted to read more books. They wanted to pour into their website wasn't good enough, so they couldn't go to market and talk to people about what they were doing. And it's like all that stuff doesn't matter.
No.
None of that stuff matters.
No, because at that time, really, when we're doing it, we're like, oh, no, this is awesome. Like, we're killing it. Like,
We're killing it.
If we didn't get here, we wouldn't have been able to appreciate there, because now we're on that platform to where it's like, wow, can you imagine what we did back then and did this? And just all the little things that we did, the magnets on the vehicles, just to kind of try to get our name out there. But at that time, that was the best that we could do. And we get the opportunity to continue to grow and do better and better. So it's a great opportunity.
We're coming. You know, I literally know where you're at. You know, like the other day, me and my son were driving through town. It was like later. I don't think it was a Friday night or something, and it was later. And both of your trucks were like right out in front of the office here, in front of a label and in the studio. And I'm like, oh, the ATA guys. They're probably meeting with Rob and the team. You know, like
we were.
Yeah. But it's really cool. It goes from the magnets, right, to you having whole trucks that are wrapped.
Yeah. It's been baby steps for sure. But it all started with a dream too, you know. It's like, this is where we want to go. We came from nothing. Like, and that's one thing today I really want to set clear to all the listeners is our father didn't start this. No one in our family started a construction company. ATA, we started at a kitchen table. We put $300 in the middle of a table, cash, $300 bills in 2019, right before a pandemic, and said, well, let's see what we can do with this. Went to Pontiac, filed our name, got our name, and took off from there. But, you know, we grew up, you know, very poor middle class, shared a bedroom 16 years of our lives. Father was a single father raising 3 kids on his own, 2 years apart in age. And it wasn't an easy upbringing, but we had a very supportive family too. Like my dad's parents, our grandparents were awesome, always active in our life, great uncles, great aunts, great cousins, to really give us that, you know, structure you needed when our dad wasn't there, because he was self-employed too. He owned a flooring company. So he was always gone working late nights. We spent a lot of time at our grandparents. So the grit is instilled at a young age, because you know what it feels like not to have anything.
Yep.
And now it's like, we never set out to be like, oh, I'm starting a construction company because I want to be a millionaire. That had nothing to do with it. You know, everyone jokingly says that, but I just knew I never want to be poor again. And and Dan said the same thing, Oginski at All Heart, when we were talking to him one day. And I'm like, man, it's so true. And it chokes me up when I say it, but Aaron's going to laugh at it, but he's heard it a million times. We're not handing our kids anything. At the end of the day, when it's all said and done, and ATA's what it is and what we've built it to be, and I know it's going to be great because just of our personalities and what we're doing, and Aaron and I are no longer on this earth, I want people to be able to look at our kids and say, man, your dads did it right. They built a legacy. They didn't cut corners. They didn't screw people over. They did it right, and that's good on them. And our thing is, we're not handing our kids anything. They'll work for it. They'll know what it feels like to push a broom in a garage in the middle of 80-degree summer heat. But they'll respect the guy who down the road they might be telling, hey, you got to go sweep this garage out. And it starts there. And the only thing we're hoping to do is put more systems in place that we didn't have. And for Follow, we'll always have a pulse on it, but just building a legacy, man. Your name is everything, and I think that's missing so much today.
It's missing so much. you brought tears to my eyes. Like,
Kills me,
it's,
man.
you know, any father son, any father kid thing. And then it made me think, I've seen your future, because I had a client that I got to work with and at Populous Cleaning Co. out of Ypsilanti, and Mike, who's the visionary, the founder of the company, or the visionary of the company, he's you guys. In the sense of what he's done with his kids, and I got to work with the third generation, the sons, Danny and Matt.
It's awesome.
And what you're describing of how you're raising your kids is exactly how Danny and Matt have become. And it was so cool. And I got to work with that company because I got to mentor that third generation and to see where that company is going. So Mike's dad was actually the one that started the company. Mike took it over. It was just a little mom and pop cleaning company. The grandpa started it because he was an EMU professor, hated his job, was like, what can I do to take care of my family that I can still play my music at night, right? And so he started this company cleaning churches in small office spaces. And he just did it. And like his son Mike grew up in it, and Mike got involved in it. And then Mike took the company over and just built it to this, great size company. They have like 140 employees. And then just, he's the type of dad that they make movies off of, and like
That's
just
awesome.
the way he raised his kids. It's like to see that future and like these two guys that have respect for people. Danny didn't just get handed a job; he had to work his way through it. And when he was younger and he wasn't mature and responsible and respect or appreciate people, he got fired. And then he had to go work in the fire service, and and learn a lot of stuff from there. But when he came back, it's again had to work his way up from cleaning. And then when I started working with him, he's in the business development seat. In the level of respect that he had for operations gave him just a difference maker when he went out and talked to his clients. Because again, the overpromise, under-deliver from a salesperson. Not salespeople, we're creative. We want everything to work. We're creating products out there that operations can never fulfill. Not Danny. Nope. He's very, to that communication, good, bad, or indifferent. I'm going to deliver the news because I'm not going to overwhelm this team or put us in a situation that we can't meet these expectations, right?
Absolutely.
So it's really cool to see that, that's where you're going to be.
And the thing is too, it's like the company will be successful. I know it will be through the grace of God and keeping our faith. And no matter how big it gets, like you also hear like companies that when they get big, they forget about things like that, the legacy and what I'm saying here today. And we will never forget that. Eventually, when we own our own big building, it's we're going to put it on the wall. Like families, everything. And that's what's going to go up there. Because at the end of the day, when you put the company aside, you put everything we've done aside and the successes we've had in such a short amount of time, we're still brothers. We're still family. I will never let a business, because we were told it when we started this company, everyone's like, family-owned business, that's not going to work. Good luck. They always fail. And we swore to each other and promised each other as brothers, we'll not let this company change who we are. It's not going to drive a wedge between your and I's relationship. And at the end of the day, we're family. We're brothers. And this is a company. And yeah, we like the company, but I'm not going to ruin a friendship, a brotherhood over it. And the coolest thing too, man, is owning a company with your brother. You learn so much about each other because you're so much more involved. But we've also done a very good job, though, and he reminds me of it more than I remind him of it, of setting boundaries. Like, shut work off when you can shut work off. Him and I, we try to get our families together at least one Sunday out of the month to have dinner together at my house or his house and just bond and hang out and enjoy each other's presence when work's off. But that stuff helps, man. And like, we're both high drive people, but it's still setting the time aside to be family.
The biggest benefit that really owning a company would be, I would say, to have that family time. And that's really from day one, obviously all the other reasons that somebody would want to go in employment for themselves. But outside of that, my kids are everything. My wife is everything. So it's like anything I can do to spend the most amount of time with them, then that's what I'm going to do. And I would love nothing more to be able to be home all day, every day with them, but we're building something to where I'll get more and more opportunities to grow up with them and see them flourish. Unfortunately, our dad, single parent since I was 6 months, he had to work and he had 3 mouths to feed, didn't have a spouse at home, so he had to just kind of kill himself for the dollar. And I saw that, and I wanted to make sure that whatever we did, it wasn't that I don't want to work in the field. It's just that that's not where I want my life to be at. So I want to make sure that I can be there for the kids.
same thing happened. Like when I left the fire service, it's really like a boys' club, a fraternity, if you will. And again, this isn't to speak poorly on it, but it's be real.
Yeah.
When I left the fire service, I had a lot of criticism. You're leaving a pension. Health insurance is cheap. It's construction. Well, what's your total sales? Well, that's none of your business. You know, they want you to be as miserable. Misery loves company, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's like, once they figure that out, it's like, all right, once you're out of the club, you're out of the club, you know? And it takes a strong personality to that profession, and we need it. And I'm all for it and happy with what I did. But
put their crabs in a bucket.
You figured
they're like trying to pull you down.
Right.
100%.
You figured it'd be more supportive, like, hell yeah, man, go get it. And I got that from a couple guys who I worked with, but a lot of them were like, it's not going to work. Good luck. You know, and it's like, no, I'll take a bet on myself than a bet on a system.
It may not work before, but now, on everything that's holy, it will work, and I will be back here.
When, like, after being in the entrepreneurial world and owning a company, that saying that just really rings hard with me. And unfortunately, you've seen, like, the people come out and it just happens. But that saying that goes, everybody wants you to do good, just not better than them.
Yeah.
And you see that to be so true, and it's unfortunate, but you can really feel that.
Well, what I've found in let me know what you found. There's people, and you know, there's people in those jobs that want to hold you down because they have a certain floor on their thought process. No, you know, good, bad, and different. There's people, right? But then when you get out in the entrepreneur world and you run into the Steve Ziskowskis, you run into the Dan Oginskis, you run into the Rob Johnsons, and you start building relationships with these people, you realize there are so many people that want you to be successful.
Oh, yeah.
There are so many people that are willing to help. And so it's so much easier to be like, bye to the crabs. You know, like, it's so much like, welcome home to my people.
Right.
And like, wow. And to be like, again, to be in a group in SiriusNet with you guys, and to Rob Pierce and Trisha Turner, and just, you know, I could name every single name in our group, you know, Jonathan Hayward and, you know, Scott Lee, just naming them all. Like, to be around those people, you know that everybody has your back.
Our SiriusNet group, like, that's why I like the group. I was in another group previous through SiriusNet, and it's just like, it wasn't a group that fitted my personality right. But when I found your guys' group, and Steve's like, hey, I think I have one for you. And I did the first meeting. I'm like, man, this is awesome. But I also, like, I was telling Jonathan Hayward when I met with him for a trust builder the other day, I'm like, I liked how you had to, like, prove yourself. I don't ever want anything handed to us. It's just not my mentality. So even in the groups, like, hey, if you want it in this family, prove to us you're a solid individual.
After we started seeing this networking community, it's like, I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs, like, they get going and they get burnt out before they even find that family. And it's super unfortunate, because they could be super successful people, but they just get burnt out because, I mean, for growing, it feels like you're beating your head against the wall most times, and just not having that support behind you. And then when you can find that, it's like you just cling on to everything. And then everybody's just wholeheartedly 100% in. And it's like, why do you care so much about what I'm doing? And just everybody cares about everybody's group or their company. So it's nice to find that.
And the coolest thing too was, like, Robert Pierce, when I met him, like, he's such an eccentric guy, and he's awesome. And I've done trust builders with him. I got to know him on a personal level. He's got to know me. And I found out he goes to the same church that I do. The other day we're walking out of Christmas service, and I saw him from, like, hey, Robert. And he turns around like, what's up, man? It's not like a high five or handshake. It's like giving each other a brotherly hug, because that's what you get in these networking groups. And SiriusNet is like what Steve has made there and created. Like, our group is like family. Like, to get me out of our current group, like, I'm going to claw, bite, scratch, whatever I need to do to
Rob
stay.
works out with me 3 times a week. He meets me in the mornings. We hit the gym, you know?
Awesome guy.
Awesome guy. Yeah.
But those are the people that keep you going on your low days. You know, and I remember when Aaron and I were met with adversity, you know, and we had a rough month in this company. I went to his house, like, man, what do you think? It's like, things are rough. You're worried about payroll, jobs are delayed, which messes up your draw that you're going to get from that job to sustain it. And Aaron's always been able to keep the faith, sometimes stronger than me, because you just get overwhelmed. And Aaron gave me a hug. He's like, dude, it's going to be okay. We got this. He's like, foot on the gas pedal. It's going to be okay. I'm like, all right, appreciate it. Let's go. You know, but
failure's never been an option since day one.
That's what you need. No, you know, not when you look at your kids, and, like, sometimes it lingers. And that's what I've been able to, especially the end of this year, is get like calmness and peace. Like, we're good.
When we started hiring people too, it's like, now
you
really have to make it happen. Like, what am I going to do? Go to these people and say, hey, sorry, I effed everything up and we got to close up shop. No, you got to find that alternative alternative way to make it happen, no matter what the circumstances are.
And then with our industry too, like the guys that have hired in with us, and Aaron can fully support this, is like construction. There's no say that they can go anywhere they want right now. It's a highly sought after industry that needs bodies very bad, especially skilled positions. So when you look at the guys who we have on our team and they decided to work for us and come to ATA, a younger company, and take a chance, if they took a chance on me, I can't let them and their families down who count on us for their living. And we want to grow with them, you know. A lot of guys in construction industry, and not all, but most, it's a single ownership and they're at the top. They use a lot of subcontractors, which we don't believe in. We handle all of our rough and finish work in-house with the skill set we have. But you get to the top and you're like, oh, this is great. You have the cars, you have the money, you have the success. Everyone knows the company's name, but you're there by yourself. I don't want that. Aaron doesn't want that. I want to get to the time and be like, hell yeah, we did it. Let's go, man. Slapping each other's hands and like saying, we were here.
We did it together.
But we did it together.
100%. We've never been the guys to where we're looking for the subcontractors that are the cheapest bid. No, we found the people that fit our core values, and those are the same people that we use every time, because I know they're going to treat my client right. They're going to treat my employees right. So those are the people we go to. It's not always a budget thing. And now we're blessed to have so much work under our belts with all these companies to where we kind of know where everybody's going to be at price points. So it makes it a little easier, and they respect it. They come on and they're like, hey, I appreciate the work. I appreciate the business, because they know no matter what's going on in their world, they at least have our work coming to them.
Yeah, like we had one of our electricians, he's worked with us since day one. He's like, I can't make it work because everyone's trying to get done before the new year. Can you guys do like first week of January? Like, sure, no problem, man. We can worry. We're ahead of schedule anyway. He's like, man, I really appreciate the work. Thank you so much. And this guy doesn't need our work, but he values the work we give him. And that's why we use the same team. It's not, like Aaron said, it's not shopping low bid just to make more money. That's selfishness. Just have faith, take what you can, and roll on. Our goal is the next 5 to 10 years. And I was always leaning heavier on the 10. He's more optimistic than I. We want to be a household name. I want people to know who ATA is. And when you think home renovation, additions, remodeling, anything with a house, you think of ATA. Tom always says, if you guys keep doing what you do in 5 years, but it's like, just stay humble. If we hit in 10, that'll be cool. But it starts by having that, even a good core subcontractors who you do use. And that's why we don't shop cheap bid. I don't want the low guide. I want the guys who's going to do a good product with an efficient time.
What's driven your faith from day one?
I think my family, my son, I mean, like I said, he was 3 months when I made that jump, and I worked a job at a steel mill to where grandpa retired from there, uncle retired from there, my cousin put in 20 years up until COVID, and things didn't work out well, and he ended up leaving, and he was extremely happy that he made that jump as well. But I mean, it's an industry to where you're working 60, 70 hours a week, and I worked off shifts. I worked 3 a.m. to the week after my son was born. I went back to work and they said, hey, sorry, I hate to do this to you, but you got to be here at 3 o'clock in the morning. So that just beating you down and just like, there's got to be something better to life than this. Like, I'm never going to be able to be my kid's life if I continue to live in this environment. So really, I think my son, just seeing him and wanting to be there for every moment that I can, that was really one of the biggest things, just to be like, I got this.
You can make this work.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's just been.
I love that. And I love, because like we had some dialogue before the show started, and you were talking about how it's like hard to turn off the driver in, being part of the fire service, working, kind of like your dad had said something about taking the time off, and enjoying the kids. And you said, where did that come from?
Yeah.
And so it makes me think like how your experience growing up, like how that really is ingrained into your driver.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, 15, 16 years, single wide trailer. Like, we lived tight and on top of each other. And we didn't even, like, now we look up and I drive past every now and again. And I'm like, how'd that even work? And it's like, you don't know. Like, we were just so tight, and growing up, like, it didn't feel like what it was.
Yeah.
But now, like, looking back at it, it's like, oh, that's insane.
It was like a controlled upbringing. Where we grew up, I was actually for a while a firefighter in that area. And when I'd run calls in that mobile home park, I'd see people we grew up with, which was, man, eye-opening. Because you'd see them like, hey, Alan. I'm like, hello? And you'd see them, and it's so-and-so. And my dad always told us growing up, and it was controlled upbringing, but he said, you don't have to be where you live. Just because you live in a mobile home park, you don't have to live like you live in a mobile home park. Take pride in who you are, have the integrity, have the character. And you see a lot of folks who are like, I can't get out of there. Those I'd run calls on, and I'd see them. I'm like, man, you can change this. I can. I have my mom, my dad, no positive influences. One of the guys who we grew up with, we now employ. And we've been able to be that positive influence for him, that guidance. And he's awesome. He's done really, really good for us. But you just don't let your environment and your upbringing determine who you're going to be the rest of your life.
Absolutely.
And when I'd run calls with young kids, because the department I worked at was inner city, and you'd see them like, man, I can't get out of here. It's just how it is, you know. And I'm like, no, you can. There is hope. And you tell them a little bit about your story, like, wow, you went through this and you're here. I'm like, yeah, it wasn't handed to me, but you can change it. Life is about choices, you know. And I hate when people are like, I can't change. You can change. And it frustrates me because I have more hope for them than they have for themselves.
Yeah.
Aaron's the same way. And like, you know, not to get too deep into it because we like to kind of service in silence, but we like to give back throughout the year to families when we can. We've been generous being the situation we're in. But we have hope and faith, you know, share the generosity, and, you know.
We try to give that to the guys too, to where it's
huge.
like 8 a.m., 4:30, 9 times out of 10, that's going to be your schedule. You're not working Saturday and Sunday. I mean, we've done the 15, 16-hour days and the crazy work when we had to, but for the most part, we want to make sure that they get to go home and enjoy their families. 8-hour workday in construction is sometimes unheard of, and they can appreciate that because it's not like, hey, I built this company, I took the risk, so now I'm going to sit at home with my family and enjoy my life. Yeah,
15 hours a day.
Yeah, it's like, no, I mean, yeah, you still got to put in some time throughout the day, but I want to make sure that you get the same time because I know how it feels when I was working at a steel mill and nobody gave a shit about what I was going home to do. So making that culture.
Homeowners appreciate that too. So you're not at their house at 7, 6 o'clock in the morning, and you're not at their home. So we always tell our homeowners, we try to give you your mornings, we try to give you your evenings. And no holidays, like we schedule our year. So Aaron and I will look at the year calendar and say, okay, 4th of July is coming up. What days do you want to give them off? Long weekend, recharge, because our peak season's like right at the end of February through August. Boom, you're rocking and rolling in construction. And we just give the guys time to rest up and heal. So if you can't offer like the benefit packages, just treat them right, man. You know, Aaron said it perfect one day when we're sitting there at his house and we're just talking about the company and where we've been. It's like, we've created an atmosphere and a culture that we would want to work for.
Yeah.
You know, and
100%.
Perspective. And you're in consulting, so you understand it. So you've probably been into businesses where it's like, man, you say you're having these issues, but what's your culture like? Would you want to work here? No, I didn't think of that.
Eye-opening, powerful question.
From day one, our goal was, all right, company vehicles. Put them both in a company vehicle. We pay for all the gas, all the expenses, but that solely just a vehicle to commute to and from work, that takes a lot out of somebody's life to where they don't have to worry about it, their own car troubles or anything like that. So since day one, that's what we tried and we went after, and everything we say we want to do, we do achieve it. And our guys have been able to see that because they both have take-home vehicles that we've been blessed to be able to provide for them. And every time we say something, we do it. So it makes it easier the further or the older we get because they're like, hey, if they said that, like, that's going to happen.
Your word's good.
Yes.
Our big thing is, man, I just hate people that do lip service. Oh, it sounds good, but they don't execute. We've all worked for people like that.
Yeah.
I'm sure you have. I definitely know I have. I know Aaron has.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, if you're going to say something, follow it through and then show a plan on how we're going to get there. So not only when we have those team meetings, going back to that for a second, we have our strategic plan. A lot of companies have a strategic plan, but it's just letters and numbers on a board.
Yeah.
We've been thankful enough and we've executed with our planning to get through that strategic plan. And now we're on to new goals. But we show the guys like, hey, this is what we brought in last month in sales and jobs closed, and this is our goal. They hit their quarterly goal this year. So for one of the quarters, we took them and their spouse out to dinner here in Brighton and Stillwater just to show appreciation, you know, because we want everyone to know, and the listeners, that we take care of the guys and we really put our money where our mouth is. Like, we're not just saying this is like rah-rah today. Like, this is truthfully who we are. There's no fakeness here. We're authentic, and you have to care about the guys. And they know it too. And I asked them, like, how was that meeting? Were you guys okay with it? Like, yeah, no, it's just eye-opening because we've never been privy to this information. You have guys that are 20 years in the industry and they've never been told this information. The owner's like, they don't need to know the numbers. Well, the best thing you need to understand as the owner is they're always going to want raises. They're always going to want benefits. Always going to want this. And if you're just honest with them and say, hey, this is where we're at, but if we get here, you can get it.
Yep.
And you know we will get you it.
It doesn't matter. Like, we've always been told, like, hey, if you own a company, no matter what the real fact is. Everybody thinks you're just rolling in $100 bills and just living high on the horse, but
Must be nice to be a millionaire.
yeah. So no matter what you're actually doing, that's
Yeah.
what the instant thought is.
Oh, yeah.
So when we open that up and they're like, am I supposed to be looking at this? It's like, yeah, I'm putting it in front of you. Like,
Good for
see
you
these
guys.
numbers, because then when it is getting tight or a project isn't going as planned and we need to put some extra hours in to make sure we close it out to get on to the next one, they're like, all right, no, I respect it. I see where you're at. I see where the numbers fell. Like, I understand why you guys are stressed out. Not like, well, you guys don't understand it. You never will. Like, no, make them understand or help them understand and do what you can to make sure that it'll help everything in the long run.
Man, when we had a rough month, like we're getting like our butts kicked, and we show up and they could see the stress on Aaron's eyes face. They're like, "We got you," and they all said, "We got you." You know, rough homeowner, and it just wasn't the best project, and like, it's gonna be okay. We got you guys, and everyone's like, "Oh, reassurance, really? Our owner needs to hear that." It's like, yeah, because you have a team. You know, of course you need to hear that, and that's where you have to set your ego aside and be like, "No, I can open myself, be vulnerable to this." And if there's other construction company owners out there hearing this, it's be vulnerable. It's okay. You don't have to act like you're Mr. Tough Guy. It's like, just be real. Be real with them. Like, not every day is great.
What I love about this is there's a few phrases or sayings that I want to bust as far as myths go. And one of them is that entrepreneurship is a lonely place. Entrepreneurship is a lonely place if you make it a lonely place.
Oh,
if
yeah.
you go into
Yes.
your office and you shut the doors down, you don't share your numbers with your team, you don't share the struggles and the good things, it's going to be a struggle. It's going to be lonely.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to talk about you and point at you, and they're not going to understand why you're not giving them certain things because they're like, I made you this much money, you know,
Yeah.
or whatever. They have this vision in their head that they made you a millionaire, and you're out taking the weekends off and they're working, you know. But what you're doing is you're creating, again, that family. You're creating that buy-in. I have a client. It is in your same type of company in a different state,
Mm-hmm.
and 2 weeks ago, and I'm going to share this because it's absolutely ridiculous. He does not want to show numbers, and he has the CRM lockdown to where the salesperson is not fully empowered to work a lead from the. Like, he has to literally hand send a lead in, text that person, a lead is in, and then text that person the contact notes because he doesn't want to give her the empowerment just in case she deletes a record out of the. Because she's spiteful.
It's a broken system.
That's a broken mindset. And I started in my message to say, I understand where you're coming from. Then I'm like, no, I don't. I've made fun of people like you my whole entire life. But in far as my career goes, because for me as a sales leader, I want my team to know my numbers.
Mm-hmm.
How are they going to go get better numbers? They don't know
Exactly.
what the numbers are. And
Yes.
how, you know, like if like 10,000 in gross profit, that sounds like a good number until you know that our cost was 19,000 and we're now negative 9,000, you know? So if you don't share with your team and bring them in and empower them, they will never empower you.
And it also helps them, like, treat your belongings respectfully when they know, like, hey, this cabinet is $3,000. So let's be careful with it. It's not, oh, well, we actually bounced it off the wall and all that good stuff. So
Yeah.
once they actually realize, they're like, wow, I never knew that's what that cost.
You probably have a lot less waste
Yes.
Oh,
on
yeah.
jobs, you know, compared to the industry.
Yeah.
Where people are just like, who cares? He has money, throw it away or whatever.
100%.
Yeah, like our foreman and these individuals don't work for us any longer, but he saw one guy like drop our nail gun, and we're all battery operated for the most part. And he's like, hey, you know how much that costs? Like, that's several $100s. If that breaks, that takes away from what they can give you. There's no dinners, there's no bonuses, but it's the culture you built. So now you have your foreman, Shane's like, that guy's always had our best interests, and he's always corrected guys like, hey, and don't give him an attitude. So he's like, he holds them accountable. But that's the thing. So it's huge. So Aaron and I say we could leave for a month, come back, as long as we give them a plan, leave for a month, come back, and things are still going to be fine because they understand us. Where a lot of businesses, especially in construction, I don't think they could say the same.
Absolutely not.
No, not at all.
Businesses general.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I would say you're in the top 5%.
And it's a lot because we were open-minded, and we're able to take advice from those who've already walked the path we're walking and said, hey, this is what you want to strive to put in place so you can operate a little more functionally. You can have more freedom to do what you need to do to grow the business or be home early with your family, take your kids to school, whatever it may be. This is what you need to do. And like our guys, they call us, like if they're not feeling good one day and you can see they're not feeling good, like, hey man, we got you covered. Go home, take care of yourself, because you're no good to me if you're not feeling well. Like, take care of your health. Well, I need the hours. We have the hours. I want you to take care of your health. And that's what we do. And that's, people remember that. And I think that's why we have the guys we have and why no one's left. And because, like Aaron said, it's not lip service. We just don't tell people something. We act on it. And you treat human beings like human beings. And like, that goes in general, I think, across the world these days, man. It's like, take care of your neighbor. Like, what's so wrong with just being nice? I had a captain when I worked in a fire department at my station. We're headed back from a call. He's like, hey, can I give you a piece of advice? I'm like, sure, because he didn't agree with the one boss we had on shift at the other station. I'm like, sure, go ahead. What's up, Cap? He's like, best piece of advice you can take with your life. And what I don't like with this boss that we just worked with. I'm like, okay. He's like, go to work, be happy, do your job. Don't be a dick. He's like, it's very simple, but usually someone can't follow through with all three of those. He's like, if I can give you that advice, he's like, take it with you, you'll be successful. He's like, but a lot of people forget it. And I think it's just so missing today in the world, man. And it's like, I'm not saying you got to kiss up someone, but just hold the door for someone.
Absolutely.
Say good morning. I said Merry Christmas to someone the other day in the store. Like, thank you. And it's like, I always follow Merry Christmas, happy holidays, whoever celebrates what. Yep. But it's like just being happy, like, man, you're alive and well with free will.
Absolutely.
Like, there's someone in a hospital bed dying for the opportunity I have today.
And we also don't put ourselves in rooms if we're meeting with a client and if we're not comfortable with that client, we just don't pick the job up. We have that conversation with them like, hey, sorry, this isn't going to work, because we have enough experience under us now to where we can see how that's going to end up. And I'm not going to put my guys every day in your home having to deal with your poor attitude.
Yeah.
And if we're definitely blessed with the amount of workflow that we have coming in to where we have that option to where it's like, hey, if somebody's not going to treat our people right, then we'll just simply not do the job for them.
Because I think that's missing, like in our industry or in sales in general. A salesperson's interviewing you just as much as you are interviewing them.
5,000%. The good ones.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know, you got to identify the outliers. Both parties do.
Yep.
Don't want to make our guys go to work every day and work for somebody that's just completely rude to them. And it's not needed. It's totally not needed. And we won't let it happen.
No. And that's what we told our guys, and they know, like, hey, if something goes wrong here, or they're being rude to you, you tell us immediately. We're in your corner. Where a lot of people are like, can you just get along with them? I really need to just get this done. It's like, no, if you're being rude, I'm not going to tolerate it. I want to tolerate for someone being rude to my wife or my kids. I'm not going to tolerate from you. I really don't need it that bad, you know. And
eventually our kids are going to be, well, maybe if they decide to go construction. If they don't, then, well, that's okay too. But if they end up in our shoes, I want to make sure that we built this thing for the last 20 years, and we're like, no, this is how this works. You're not going to get beat down, because we've been beat down by clients, and it's like, who do you think you are? Like, this is not how a person's supposed to talk to another person. Like, we're all both humans here.
Yeah.
So it's like we're building that culture to make sure that if they do get in that driver's seat, they have less chance of dealing with that same instance.
Well, the really cool thing is, like, I'm sure you're obviously building your clients like that, but then you get referrals from people that are like that because they're introducing you to their friends, their family, people that have that same.
This company was built 95% on referral base before we actually started marketing. We didn't start marketing until year 2 into this business. So the first 2 years were really just a grinding to get to where we're at and to build that portfolio, but it was really referral based. Hey, I had these guys out, they're awesome. You should give them a shot. You know, we had no website really. Website was Wix, it was terrible. So we had no website that was promoted on Google. We had no Google. All we started on was word of mouth referral and Facebook and the paper PDFs I made. But it's like, that's why when everyone's like, well, I need all these systems. Like, no, you don't.
Nope.
If you believe in yourself, you can do it. And everyone's like, oh, that's so cliche. I'm like, but it's true. We did it, man. It's like, just have some hope in yourself that you're better than the next guy you're competing against. Every time I go in a room, Jason, we're competing against another company.
Yep.
The basement where the guy said we didn't downplay the issue, he even put on the review, they interviewed 8 companies and we got the job. The one we just sold in Canton, they interviewed 7. And every company they interviewed from the trade show they went to in Novi, they didn't even hire. And we're humble. And it's not an ego thing. It's not to say we're better than them. It's just we're different. We're humble. We understand it. And I openly tell people when we do a proposal review, sometimes budgets don't align. I understand that. We could possibly remove things if you're willing to drop your budget. But the worst case scenario, you don't go with us. Best case scenario, we had a good conversation today, and I wish you the best in your endeavor.
Love it.
And it's just authentic, man.
How did you, coming from fire service, have you ever done sales before?
Never.
How did you fall in line? Because what you're doing is phenomenal.
Well, he laughs at this, but my dad,
He's always good.
My dad and Tommy Boy,
Yes, we talked about this. Yes, all right.
Get a look at a T-bone steak. I did not wear car air fresheners on my suits though. No, but in all seriousness, my dad was really good at sales. At young ages, he always put us in rooms and taught us how to talk to people. And then in the fire service, naturally, you're dealing on incidents, high stress environments where split second decisions, yes or no, left or right. That helped too, like work under pressure of sales. And I perfected over the time, seeing questions I said, like, man, I shouldn't have said that. I should have did this. Tom has helped perfect some of our in-person stuff. So we didn't start doing our in-person proposal reviews until after Tom had mentioned, hey, you guys want to try that? And at first, like, dude, that's like 30 estimates, that's 30 more meetings. So it's 60, and say in a month, hypothetically, generally in a quarter. And he's like, no, give it a shot. Our conversion rate went up like 30% the first month we did it. I'm like, okay, well, there's proof in the process. So, and I just built off of that to get where I'm at. And I just didn't lie to people when they're like, do you got any photos? No, I don't. But you can trust me. I can give you referrals. So Aaron and I oftentimes, I think it's happened probably at least a handful, 5, you would say. People have asked for referrals. We'll give them 3 referrals, emails, phone numbers, job we did. And what else do we give them? Basically all their contact information.
Yeah.
And then give them a call. And I was like, really? I'm like, we have nothing to hide. So we built off that. And as the process got good, I just didn't lie to people, didn't exaggerate it, didn't like show them fake photos. It was like, do you have photos? No. Have you done this before? No. Have you done this? Yes, we have. Okay, what would you apply here? And built off. And then Aaron even taught me some stuff like that I might have been missing, like construction wise. So I educated myself on products I didn't know. So I'd go out in the field, try to work days with guys, or at least stop in there and ask questions. Hey, Shane, how's this go together? Hey, David, Andy, how's this go together? Like, get a better process, because I'm open to say it. Aaron is a better carpenter than I am. I'm more sales oriented.
Yeah.
And it works good, like the yin and yang, like you said. So I'd let them educate me. But again, what does it go back to? Setting ego aside.
Yep.
And being willing to grow off it. So that's how I got good at it. And naturally, I'm a people person, man. I love being around people. That's my happy spot. Like our Sears Net meeting we had the other day when I did my presentation in person.
Yeah.
When I sent one, it's like, let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go. Let's do this. But I love being around people. And that was like the crappiest thing about COVID, man, is like that was stripped away from us. And naturally, as human beings, like we need to be around each other. So when we could go back around people, like I enjoyed it. Even during COVID, like we're wearing masks, our guys were testing. If they've got ill, we'd be down guys, but we still made it work. I did Zoom consultations, but just built off it. And I also always go in there with a legal pad. So I take notes and question as I ask, and then follow up with if it's working or not. But basically, honestly, to answer your question in short form, that was long form. My father helped me a lot based on the sales he did. He was really big into flooring. He never did nothing with construction. He really handyman oriented, but he always worked in sales, learned a lot from him, and his biggest thing was, 10% about the product, 90% about them. Because majority of people want to tell you about them, and that's cool. And I love to hear about people's stories. So that works out great. Too many guys walk in a room and it's like product this, product that, sign today. Well, our process is all of our proposals are good for 2 weeks. And I always tell people, we're not calling you every day after you leave today. There's an expiration date. We'll contact you the week of it expiring just to say, hey, where you're at. If I leave a voicemail, if I don't hear from you by 5, we're just going to send it to loss. No harm, no foul. But it's no pressure sales with us. I want it to be natural. So when we start the project, it doesn't start all tense.
Yeah.
It's already tense enough. You have strangers. And that when we start, we're strangers. When we end, we're friends. But it's like, it just has to be natural, man. I feel like guys, and we're commission based. We're owners of a construction company. So everyone's like, oh, we got guys working. You always have money. If we don't close a deal, our kids and our families don't eat.
Yeah.
The families who work for us, they don't eat. So we're very much commission based. I think that's why entrepreneurs, those that take the leap, are so successful, because you have to look at it as your commission based.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
If you don't get a job, well, that's not going to be good.
I had the blessing of being in sales for most of my career and being commission based. And so like coming into it, it's like a natural mindset, but you do have to make that adjustment as an entrepreneur. If you're not out there selling, grinding, doing the things, you're not making money.
Yeah. And the thing is too, man, it's like you being commission based and have that mindset. So you're commission based, you're relying on yourself and the skills you have. And we don't get everything we go on. No one does.
Yeah.
We've been very successful at it, but we haven't gotten every job we've went on. We've gotten enough. Our numbers are still pretty good. But when it comes down to it, it's like we didn't pressure it. Like a lot of guys are like, I'm commission based, so now it's like pressure sales. So they don't know. Naturally, some guys don't know they're doing it, or gals don't know they're doing it, but don't force a product. If they're not feeling it, they're not feeling it.
And I feel like that's what makes them feel more comfortable the more smooth we are.
Yeah, ask questions too. What do you think? How you feel?
When you said it's 90% them, 10% you. You know, you do have to remember the intentionality of why you're there.
Mhm.
You're not there just there to talk about the Lions and, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's 90% them, and that asking questions gets you everywhere.
We even told people, man, like we sat down for proposal reviews and they see numbers like, man, we didn't know it was going to be that much. I'm like, okay, well, you want to take some off? Well, we really don't want to. I'm like, oh, that's okay. I'm like, when you're ready, we'll be here for you. No rush. And we always advocate to everyone. Don't think I'm crazy for saying this to listeners out there, but we're honest because we're like, hey, listen, if we're going to empty our savings account, and I'm not trying to know your exact numbers, if we're going to take a loan out right now with a hefty interest rate, how about we hold off? ATA is going to be here when you're ready, and then you can come back to us. No big deal. And some people will be like, man, you're taking money away from stuff. That's foolish. You should just sold the job. You had them. But the thing is, you have the stress of the job now, the stress of a loan or emptying your savings for a project where you might have to add more for unforeseen. So we're honest with people. I'm like, if you're going to empty the barn, don't do the project. And they're like, wow, thank you for saying that. And we said that to a lady. We went out to her house in Canton. She wanted to do an addition. Her budget was $160,000. Aaron and I evaluated the project. We're like, based on the neighborhood and what the homes are going for, you're not going to get what you put into it out of it. You might make like 20 grand when it's all said and done. And that's really realistic. That's no exaggeration. Just a very older neighborhood, and it was way more work she's going to put in. So she, fast forward 2 weeks later, she calls, hey, I found this house I want to possibly completely remodel in Canton. That likes what you guys said, and call us back just because of what I just said.
Absolutely.
If it doesn't make sense, don't do it.
Yep.
At least we had a conversation. You know who we are. Keep us in mind for family and friends.
And when the client feels that, when you walk in there, they can already feel the room. Like everybody can kind of feel each other's energy. So if you're in there and you're just, hey, I'm here just to take some measurements, have a conversation, that's all. And they see that and they're like, oh, wow. Because if you had that guy that just came in before me that's like, hey, sign this right now before I leave, they get that bad taste in their mouths to where that's kind of what they're going to expect from you. But if you're just nonchalant and just, hey, I'm here to do this service, they can respect that, and it makes them feel more comfortable in their own home.
What's wild for us is like we've heard from 2 homeowners the past 2 weeks. 2 separate companies did this to them. I'm not going to say the name, just out of respect. But they said, yeah, they called me back 3 days later saying, hey, I'll take 20% off if you sign today. And like, well, we're already not going with those companies because they just admitted to me they did not give me integrity and honesty and did not give me their best last number, their final figures. And they're saying they can take some off. Where with us, I don't play that game. This is the best I can do.
Yeah.
And this is where we're at.
That's it.
And that's just how it works, man.
That's it. Because if we get into negotiating and it's like, why didn't you give me that price in the first place?
Yeah.
You know, versus we can take some stuff off. We can probably adjust materials and lower the price, but we're not giving you the same deal for the same price.
Exactly.
Or for a lower price.
You know, and I stand by the value that I bring to our proposals and that our team brings.
Yeah.
You know, proof is in the process.
100%.
Trust the process.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some days it's easier than others.
Guys, this has been phenomenal. It's like time like we could do another hour probably. This has been a phenomenal conversation. Thank you so much for coming down and sharing the story. I love the talking about kids. I know when I started my business, that was a big putting the forefront. This was 6 years ago, so my son was 10, 11, 10. And it's been really cool. I was talking to Aaron at the beginning when we were waiting for you to come in, and we're talking about does my kid know what I do? And I'm like, yeah, because of TikTok. TikTok has like just recently. In fact, his girlfriend was like, hey, you've been watching your dad's videos? He was like, not really. And so now he's watching them. And it was really cool. A couple weeks ago, we got home from basketball and I get this text message at 11:30 at night. And I'm like, who's messaging me at 11:30? And I get this text from Jackson and it says, Dad, I'm just watching your videos. And you had a video today where it's just you talking. And he was like, I know, you put all these great clips out with guests. He was like, but I think it's important for you to put out more clips of you talking. He was like, you have so much awesome stuff to say and people need to hear it.
Dude, that's awesome.
I just sat there and
so
like
powerful.
tears in my eyes, how
That's what
powerful that
every
is.
father would look for. Yeah.
Like my 15-year-old son just texted me, I need to hear more of you talking.
Yeah.
And so the next day I'm like,
Man, that gives me
deal,
chill bumps.
done,
Yeah.
right? And I said, Jackson, that's amazing. Thank you so much. I heard you. Next day I posted a clip of me and he messaged me. He was like, that's it. He was like, see it? It's getting all these responses and just to follow, So Christmas Day, he was like, told me he was so excited for what he got me for my gift. And so I opened this thing up and he got me these bands, and I got one for you, for you, Alan. So
that's awesome.
he gets me this band, these bands, and he gets has a whole package of them. He's like, I want you to be able to hand these out to your guests. And so it says Eat Faces.
Hold
on
it
the
up,
front.
Jason.
So Eat Faces on the front. So I don't know if I told you guys the Eat Faces story.
Mm-mm.
No, okay. So I'll share the story. So it says roar on the other side of the lion. But what's
That's
really
awesome.
cool, because this has been really the theme of our conversation. On the inside, it says, "Don't wait for opportunity, go create it."
Hell yeah.
And I'm like, that's it, right?
Yes.
There you
Don't
go.
wait for
Yes.
opportunity, go create it. And so I'm sitting here, and like I was just, when I was talking about playing small, I've been sitting here staring at this throughout the last couple of days. It's just like, it is time to go. When you have the belief of your family, when you have the belief of those around you, when people around you are saying, keep doing what you're doing, you're going to blow up. Like you got to keep doing it, but you pour more gasoline on it.
All
right?
gas, no brake.
All
That's
gas,
right.
no brake. And so, wait a minute.
Aaron doesn't use brake
Oh.
ever. He just drifts every corner.
That's right.
That's awesome, man. Thank you.
Absolutely. So I just had to end it that way. Talking about the kids, they're watching.
And shout out to Jackson. Your dad's proud of you, man. Keep
So
doing
proud,
what you're
man.
doing. That's awesome.
It's like one of those things like, when do you
Yeah.
know your kid's going to make it and survive? And it's really cool seeing him grow into, you're going to, you were talking about like 4 and 2 and how every year is better.
Mhm.
And every year is better. And I really, really miss the little kid stages. I love listening to your stories and, wanting the truck and, all those things. But it's been so cool watching him grow into a young man.
Oh yeah, man.
And like, especially as he's gotten these relationships and, had girlfriends, and to see how he treats his girlfriend, I see how I treat my wife and how our conversations and our communication, and just, I see what he's doing. It's like, your kids are watching. Sometimes you don't know. You don't know, am I talk about being a business owner, being a parent. Am I doing things right? Am I messing things up? Like, oh my God, I'm almost 45 and they let me be a parent. Like, I still feel like I'm 20. What the heck is going on here? But at the end of the day, to see, like,
Dude, that's so
to
true.
have this thought,
Dakota
amazing.
Meyer, he's a medal honor recipient. Check him out. He's awesome. But he said it perfect in one of his podcasts. He has a daughter, and I have a daughter as well. Aaron has his daughter on the way. Congratulations to you, Aaron. That's awesome.
Thank you.
But he said, my daughter, I will be the longest person she ever dates. So what she sees in me is what she's going to think of a man in the future when she starts dating. And if she brings home someone that I don't like, it's my fault. And I listen to that, man. When I'm walking my little daughter yesterday and she's in a little Elsa dress, it's like, how you treat your family and how you act around her is what she's going to think. And just spend time with the kids, man. That's the next generation.
Definitely.
letting her be the princess.
Yeah, man.
But then just also how your family communicates and interacts, how your wives are part of the business, are part of the, part of everything. Like, they're gonna see that.
Dude, I never leave my house without telling my whole family I love you. Anything can happen, split second. And I just want them to know if it's the last thing I say, they know I love them.
100%.
Guys, man, phenomenal. Thank you so much for coming.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.